Here's your hot take of the day. Business is now on easy mode. And if you get on YouTube or X or Twitter or whatever, what you will see is a bunch of content around and geared towards people who are trying to grow their business. They're making 5K, 10K, 15K, 20K a month, whatever it is. And they're trying to get to a certain level. But in reality, the people who are successful aren't as prolific on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook talking about all of their issues. Some of them are, but most aren't. So I'll give you an example. This morning, there was news that I guess yesterday that the Trump administration signed a $30 million grant program to help companies train employees. And in short, it works like this: that your state has to apply to get the grant. If they get the grant, then you can apply from your local workforce association, and they're going to pay, I think it's 80% of the cost. So the first half is paid after the employee's trained, and the second half is paid after the employee is retained for 6 months. So it has to be employees. It can't be contractors. So I sent that news to, I think, 3 or 4 business owners this morning, letting them know. None of these business owners have social media. None of them, okay, they might have a Facebook account, but they're not prolific on social media. They're not talking about stuff. They're not on there. But there are people who are hiring people. There are people who have very profitable companies and people who might use a program like this to their advantage. And the reason I say that is it's not that their business is easy and yours is hard. It's just there's a myth out there that it always has to be hard. That if you're not grinding, you're not working 60, 70 hours a week, then you can't do anything. And that's just not true. It's just not true. What we see online is the game that you're constantly trying to grow, you're constantly trying to scale. There was a tweet last night that reminded me of this. Someone put out a tweet about CEOs and how many hours they work. It's like 6 hours. How many hours they sleep? Sorry. It's like 6 hours a night or something like that. It's like, yeah, and the comparison was Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and maybe Steve Jobs or someone else. It's like, okay, yeah. Well, let's be honest. 99.9% of the world is not going to be those guys. Nor should you try to be. That's the thing. You shouldn't even try to be those guys. That's just a waste. What you should do is figure out the level of complexity that you can solve comfortably in your business and come to a spot to where you're comfortable with that. Maybe you push that a touch, but you get there. Now, a lot of people and the content that you see on social media is geared for people that can't solve that complexity problem, right? So they're trying to get from 10K to 20K, 20K to 40K, and so that's fine. But the reality is that there's a ton of owners out there who are making great livings, not working this 70-hour, 100-hour stuff that you see online, and you never heard of them. And oh, by the way, why would they want you to hear of them? Why would they want you to know that their business exists and they've figured this out? Because they're not trying to sell you anything except for the products that their company sells. So their company has a website. Their company has maybe a Facebook page or a blog or something like that, but they don't have anything. They have nothing. So the reason I'm saying that business is on easy mode is a few things. One, you can access content at scale like never before. When I got started running my dad's company when I was 22, it was 2006 or 7 or something like that. There was no, I don't think Facebook was around. I don't remember the exact year, but it's like, no, it's 2008 maybe. Anyways, maybe Facebook was around, but the iPhone wasn't around for sure. Or if it was, we didn't have one. I think MySpace was a thing. Audible wasn't around. That kind of stuff just wasn't prolific. Now it's everywhere. And because it's everywhere, you get the impression that everyone is stuck at the same issues. And that's just not the case. The reality is that it's trained us to think that there's always a lot more out there. And if you're making 10K a month and you're going to 20K a month, then yeah, there is a lot more out there. But if you're doing, 10 million a year and you try to get to 20 million a year, that is possible. But the amount of work it's going to take, probably for most people, makes it not worth it. It's just something that they probably don't really want to do. I had a call with the owner the other day, and he was talking about a new venture that he wanted to do. And I can't remember, it was doing, his current business is doing really good, but the second thing was doing, 5, 10K MRR, something like that. And he was trying to decide, is it worth pursuing this or not? So the question was, how long do you think until it can make, let's just say 100K MRR? And then, is it worth the pain from where you're at now to where you want to be at 100K MRR? The hiring, the firing, new clients, contracts, all that stuff. Is that really what you want to do? If it's 2-3 months, you can get there, then yeah, maybe so. If it's 3 years, maybe not. Because his current business had kind of what you might call, it's not a coaching business, but like a high ticket type service business, right? So they offered products and services to people that was, a top tier thing. We left that call and him going, yeah, I'm not really sure it's really worth that hassle, that headache. And I agreed, because instead of spinning up this new business, this new revenue stream, he'd be better off focusing his attention on just mastering his current business, maybe increasing revenue there 10%. So when I say business is on easy mode, it's because the people that you compete with are people that are trying to get started a lot of times, or they're not really sure what they want to do. They don't really realize the tools at their disposal. They have kind of an old mindset. And there's ample examples of people out there, they just don't talk about it, who are where you want them to be. And so the people that I talk to usually are pretty content with business, pretty content with what they want to do. They're trying to reclaim their time, get the time back, use it to, to work on the business, not in the business type stuff. That's where they're at. They're not trying to get from 10 to 20K. But the internet gives the impression that everyone is struggling to get from here to there. And I remember, final thing I'll say on this kind of general is, I remember earlier this year when the tariff news was announced, I talked to a few owners, and they were like, yeah, nothing, we'll see, no big deal, I don't know, we'll see. And I think for one, it was a small blip on the radar, and the other, it didn't really impact. But if you got on social media, it was the end of the world. Things were, going to fall apart. And I'm sure if you were in some industries, maybe it impacted you more than others. But for most people, did it really matter? Did it really change a lot? Did you really do the things that you thought you were going to do or have to do to stop what was going to happen with the tariffs? No, probably not. And so it's on easy mode because you're competing against people who want to live on social media and react to every little thing that's out there and want to get up in arms about every little thing. So kind of wondered here, I'll wrap this up with this, just kind of recap. One, it's an easy mode because we have access to information like never before. Two, you have the ability to get out and find your customers, I didn't even talk about this, in ways you never had before. Three, the people that you see online that you're competing with most of the time, if you're successful, are not the ones that are actually who you're competing with. They're trying to get to where you're at. So you can potentially learn from them. But four is that the people who have achieved a certain level of success, they are the people that are quiet, they're out to the side, and they're the people who really should be enjoying this era more than anybody else, because it is so easy to find information. It is easy to hear about what's going on, to learn about what's going on, to figure out AI, to figure out some new tax strategy. It's so easy. And so that's why I really stress to my clients that, hey, Your job as the owner is now to reclaim your time so that you can focus on the things that move the needle. Don't focus on all this nonsense on social media, because if you want to learn AI, you can do that. You want to go around and meet political figures or business influencers and stuff like that, you can do that. You want to start a blog or a podcast or a YouTube channel so that your clients know who you are and you can track top talent, you can do that. The levers at your disposal, if you get to that spot, are pretty infinite. So anyways, all right, I'm gonna wrap this up here. Another beautiful day here at the Nature Center. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you made it to the end, hit subscribe.